Nigel Hartigan, a rock star in the limelight with a flourishing music career, a talented spouse, and a lovely daughter, conceals a dark secret as he spirals into a haze with the power goddess. Nigel experiences extreme highs and lows, revealing an inner beast. As he descends further into the clutches of the goddess, Nigel plunges to rock bottom, consumed by a delusional world where debauchery rules. Struggling for survival, he faces a difficult choice between his affection for the power goddess and his musical mistress, and the life he once cherished. My Days with the Dark Muse, a Better to Burn Out novel, is available at most online booksellers. Today's guest is a longtime friend of the show, and she's been absent for a little over a year on the show. Sarah Martucci's back. And today is our Halloween episode, but we don't dig deep into Halloween. We actually talk more about reading and what it's like to be a reader and pitfalls of possibly dealing with people that you shouldn't be dealing with. Pay attention to that because it's important. And that's what we talk a lot about. But we also talk about Sasquatch and aliens and have a little fun. And we talk about, a haunted toy. Where is it haunted? We'll see. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm doing good, Donna. How are you, my friend?
Good. Long time, very long time no talk to. But since the last time we actually did this, Sarah and I actually got to meet in person. We got to spend a little time together, and that was a fun time. We got to celebrate somebody getting married, so that was good.
Good. I know.
That,
I'm so happy for them too.
yeah, but I mean, it was like for years we were like, oh yeah, we got to meet, and we
Yeah.
never got to meet. But
Yeah, 'cause we drove across country to move to Oregon, and we were like, maybe it could happen, but we ended up going through Chicago at like 1 o'clock in the morning. It was still crazy. Y'all's traffic is fucking bonkers. Okay,
mhm,
I'm gonna say it. But yeah, no, it finally worked out. I was glad we got to meet and actually give each other a fucking hug.
exactly, exactly. So the reason we're doing this episode today is, it's. I'll be honest. We're taping this. It's actually May. But I have a move coming up. But this is our Halloween episode. And I thought, what better way to do the Halloween episode than with Sarah Martucci? And
Okay.
because last time I think we did one, we talked about Sasquatch and
Yep.
aliens and all that stuff.
All the good
So,
stuff.
what have you been up to in the last year and so?
A lot of stuff. I got to put together my house. We got a house, like, which has literally changed my life. I feel it's given me a sense of security and a place to kind of launch myself. I got invited to be a part of a TV show, and I literally just got word the other day that we're going to start taping here in the fall time. So I've got dates that I've set aside. I'm so excited. So you
Yay.
guys keep an eye out for the others side that should be showing up here in like the next year or two. We're starting taping in the fall time. So that should be coming up. I got a couple more opportunities I can't say anything about yet that are showing up. And I'm just trying to help people connect with spirit and connect with themselves and do that for myself too. And a lot of healing and a lot of tuning back into myself. And yeah, this last year has been really, really good. I think there's been a gentle reminder of remembering who the fuck I am and stepping into that power and being like, I'm ready for whatever the fuck shows up. And if this is the vein that spirit wants me to go in, I'm going to fucking go in it. I'm going to listen to them. A lot more, 9 times out of 10, they know better than I do. So it's been a good journey of just trusting spirit and asking them to guide the way and just saying, all right, tally fucking ho, let's go. you know?
Yeah. I mean, so it's weird when I think about it because since the last time you and I talked, like this, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
teaching now. And when I look at the bigger picture, I'm doing readings and I've stepped more into not just being a tarot reader anymore, but doing the intuitive and the medium stuff. And it's interesting because recently I've had this whole epiphany about, and I'm not knocking any readers, so don't come at me because not you, but in general. But I've noticed that some readers don't do this for the right reason. They do this as a manipulation factor of manipulating a person to, and the reason why I say this is if a client is calling you 2 to 3 times in a week, there might be a problem.
Now, if somebody's got an extenuating circumstance, maybe you're helping somebody with like a really serious issue. Okay. But I think for the most part, at least this is where I come from. This is my stance. This is how I feel about it. Trust, the trust and my integrity is fucking everything. And so whenever I'm showing up for you, does this really make sense? Does this we just talked about the thing. You got to give it time to actually happen. And so talking 2 to 3 times a week, again, unless you're like counseling or you're help, you know what I mean? There's some kind of help here going on. Like this, what is best for your clients? What is best for your client? And listen, sometimes they're just so excited by the reading. They want to come back in. They want to do the thing. But the point is, like, there needs to be time to digest. There needs to be time to take action. Like, you're just going to keep getting the same fucking cards or the same fucking message until you make that choice, you do the thing, and then we could go from there. So I just try to remind people, listen, if somebody's trying to suck you back in and be like, all right, we just did this reading, but you got to come back in 2 days and spend $1,000 with me. You know, I would just, unless you're trying to remove a curse, and even then, you know what I mean? Like, we really need to think about this all the way through because, I don't care what profession you're in, there are charlatans everywhere. People taking advantage everywhere. The reason why I think people take it so personal with the work that we do is because we are we are with you in your deepest moments of grief. And so people are looking for a way through that. They're looking for help. They're looking for support. And if somebody says that they've got all the answers, all you got to do is keep throwing cash at me. Most people be like, all right, shut up and take my money. That's not a place to work from. I think that is integrity filled and truth filled. Come at me if you want. I'm in Aries. I'll fight you in the fucking streets. Okay.
That's
just not, my 2 cents.
But that's not where I was coming from, because the last 2 reading events I worked, and Spirit led this to me. The first 2 clients I had were both people that had lost their spouse. One had lost their spouse 6 weeks before. So I could talk to her not only as a reader, but as a survivor of going through this. My point is the person who calls and says, I just had this date. Tell me if this is the one. And then 3 days later calls you back and says, he said this, now what? That's what I'm talking about. That person that is being fed constantly, that every move, whether it be a relationship, he looked at me this way. What does that mean? That's a conversation you have with your friends. That's not a conversation you pay to have with somebody else.
Well, that's also a conversation you have with the person that you're with. Baby, if you got to come to me to communicate, you already do not have a good foundation in this fucking relationship. If you're unable to communicate with your person, because that's a question you ask them. That's something that you're talking about with them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, and listen, there is a responsibility to the reader too, like make sure that we're being logical and reasonable about this. Like, but also maybe she's used to that. Maybe she's had readers that, told her this is the way to do it. So I just think maybe everybody coming from a healthier, more grounded, maybe more, what's the word I'm looking for? Just healthy and grounded space. Okay. Is like, questioning every single move, like, baby, you got to make a move. Or if you're coming to me for everything when you should be communicating with your person, the reader should be able to say that. They need to be able to say that to somebody. Right.
And there's, go ahead.
Essentially, and so it's just making sure that we're working with integrity, that we're communicating clearly, that this person understands that, like, listen, you don't need to do all this. Maybe you're coming to the wrong person. Stop spending all your fucking money. I know that seems counterintuitive to work. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, I would rather, babe, everybody's tight. Everybody's tight. But like, I don't want to use you. I don't want to take advantage of you. That's wild. This is supposed to be a safe space that you come to where I'm supporting you and helping you and showing the way, or at the very least validating something you already feel, pointing you in the right direction, or helping heal through the grief process.
And this was, this was a referral person that did, and this is why I'm aware of this. And this was somebody else's client that she was out of town. So she texts me at 6 a.m. initially.
No.
Okay. Nope. But then by the time we get to the third time, because I'm just like, not doing this. By the time we get to the third time, she's like, well, this is kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, why aren't you trusting your own intuition? And that's where I wanted to go, really, because it's like, yes, as readers, we do have an innate feeling for intuition, but let's be honest, we don't always trust our own selves with our own
Oh yeah.
advice.
Welcome to
So
being human.
it's like,
Right.
right. So it's like
Ugh.
if we, everybody I work with, I usually tell them, you have to trust your own guides and your own gut instincts. So if something
Yep.
feels off with somebody, then trust that.
You have to.
And
You
I
have
think
to.
and I think
Yeah.
it's much easier to throw some money at somebody and say, oh, please make
Yeah.
the decisions for me so I don't have to do it. And then guess what? If it blows up spectacularly, I have no culpability. I can blame you. And it's just
Yeah.
like, so it's been something that I've recently seen with other readers. And I'm just like,
No, I think if you do this work, you're probably going to experience a client that's like that.
mhm,
So if you do this work, know what your own personal boundaries are. Know clearly what you're willing and not willing to do. And don't be afraid to set boundaries. No is a whole fucking sentence. No is a whole sentence. Or gently reminding the person that you're reading for, listen, baby doll, a huge part of this has to do with you too. You're a part of this as well. Things aren't just happening to you. That's not the way. That's not the. Do you want to live life like that? I fucking don't.
mm,
So, a gentle reminder, the power's in your hands here. I'm here to deliver messages. You do with that what you want. Trust yourself. So, yeah, but listen, not every reader is like that.
mm-mm.
And some people are used to people acting it maybe not always in integrity. And listen, I'm not here to call anybody out or,
Me neither.
say whatever. I could spend 84 fucking days doing that shit, okay? But that's not where I want to focus my energy. But I
No.
totally understand what you're saying. Like the point of us talking about this is make sure, especially if you're a reader, maybe you're not doing this work, just make sure that you fucking trust yourself. Make sure that you're tuning back in and that you're taking action on the things and the information that you're being given. Don't rely so heavily on anybody else in the sense where you're giving up your sovereignty and your choice. What? Remember where your power is. Remember where your power is. And a good reader will support that and remind you of clear, good boundaries. That's the good space,
I mean,
you know?
what's great is when you got a client and you read for them and they're like, well, that's exactly what I was thinking. That's exactly what I thought. Because that means you're trusting your intuition. All you're doing is coming back and I'm validating you. And that's a lot of times why readers get readings, is because we want that extra validation, because we want to make
Yep.
sure that we're on the right path. But when you take that and you're just like, well, this is what you have to do. And I mean, that's the one thing people don't talk about either, is the energy that you're putting out when you're doing a reading. And there's a situation with a reader that I know, that I've talked to other people that have dealt with this reader, and their energy always feels mucked up afterwards. And so you have to sit with the person when you get a reading. You have to sit there before you get a reading, validate them with your gut to make sure that this is the right person that should be reading for you,
Oh,
because
hell
not everybody's
yeah.
energy is going to match.
Absolute. Listen, sometimes this is finding the right person that resonates with you that actually gets you. Maybe there's something here too that, like, for me, at least in terms of me getting a reading or me, I, when you come into a reading with me, if your nips aren't activated, if your booty isn't tingling, if you ain't feeling it in your taint, I'm just not the one. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. So don't force a square peg into a round hole. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a huge part of this for everybody is motherfucking trusting yourself. I'm not for everyone. Everyone that you go to get a reading from may not be for you. So what are you feeling? Are you listening to yourself? Are you trusting your own intuition? You know? Yeah.
There was a woman recently who came to an event, and she was very buttoned up. I mean, she had a scarf around her neck, and it wasn't cold, but she was very tight, just her whole body language. And I asked her what kind of reading she wanted, whether she wanted a psychic reading or a tarot reading. And she's like, I don't know. She's like, I guess cards first. Okay, so we tried the cards. Is it making sense? And I know usually when a reading isn't making sense, and I felt that. So I reshuffled and we did it again. It's not making sense. Okay, then let's go in the other room and let's do a psychic reading. And I start doing, she goes, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. I said, what are you exactly looking for? Well, I have medical questions. Okay. That's not my expertise. I'm never going to go there with you. Here's your
Right.
money back.
Yeah. Yep.
Some people would have kept the money. I'm like, no, here's your money back. This is a person you can go see. She's a medical intuitive. She can answer those questions.
There needs to know, yes, I think there's a certain part of this, like know kind of what you're looking for. That way you can find the right reader that aligns. But yeah, also, and I do the same thing. I got a 3 person. If the first 3 people I bring through don't make sense, God bless, baby, I ain't the one. Here's your money back. I will not spend more than 15 minutes. If we get to the end of the reading and I've done all the work and then you decide then to say, oh, it doesn't really make sense. Like, baby, I just worked and you, the whole time I'm checking in, Donna, the whole time I'm checking in and you're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then at the end, you decide to say, no, babe, you made me work. I'm keeping that money.
Yeah.
But like, I don't mess around in the beginning. And so I learned that the hard way a couple times. Some people will just try to come in and take advantage. We got to protect ourselves too. So just make sure you have clear fucking boundaries around your work and what you will and will not accept.
Mhm.
And a huge part of that is knowing that, like, what are those rules for you? And again, for me, it's a 3 person rule because I also don't want you to sit there and feel like I'm just pulling through anything and everything until it matches up. Fuck that. This is supposed to blow your panties off and your hair back. This is supposed to make you feel like your person is in the fucking room with you.
Right.
That's what it's supposed to be, at least for me. I have really, really high standards. I do. But like, I want to give a good reading. I want to receive good readings. So, like, that's my jam. Same thing with pulling the cards. Like, babe, I'll give it 3 tries. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not your person. Here's your money back. No more than 15 minutes.
No.
No more.
I mean,
So that nobody's time is wasted, you know?
Exactly. I mean, I've had my husband show up in a reading. I start doing a reading and John comes through and I'm like, it's not your reading. I'll step away.
Come on, John. Come on,
like,
John.
I'm doing work, dude. But I mean,
but I feel like that's very John.
Well, yeah. And I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes even when we're dealing with somebody and we're giving them their message, it's like there's the neon sign in the background going, are you listening to yourself? Because you certainly need to hear this just as much as they do.
I get that all the time. It's almost rude, to be honest with you. It sometimes feels like they're punching me in the head as I'm saying the fucking thing. And so I'll laugh about it. I'm like, okay, I guess I need to hear that too. No, I think that if you're going to be a reader, if you're going to do this work, you got to be willing to, I think, go in and do your therapy. Take care of if you're going to deal with people and their grief, if you're going to be helping people find their pathway through their life, you need to be doing the work yourself so that you are ready and available to help. And on top of that, you've learned and gathered information around your own trauma and your own healing. And we can pass on this beautifulness. And it's such a beautiful fucking way. You know, it came to my attention, I guess, if you will. And I feel like we've talked about this before, but it's really been driving home for me lately. If we think about other artists and people that work, like architects need, their measuring tools. Bricklayers need their bricks. Everybody's working. They want the best tool possible. For us, what the fuck is our tool? You're right. It's our fucking bodies. And it's our fucking self. It's our minds. It's literally a whole physical experience for all of us. And so if we don't take care of this tool, eating well, taking care of ourselves, doing the mental health work and the emotional work, keeping spiritually clean, and I don't mean that in some kind of puritanical way. No. I just mean like making sure we're doing our meditation, connecting with spirit, making sure you're showing up every day for you and for what spirit's saying. Like if we don't do this, then we're not showing up in best form. And listen, if somebody hasn't been doing this stuff, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, if you really want to show up for your clients, if you really want to do the best work that you can, you've got to sit down and do the work here first. Make sure this tool is the best that you're working with. You know what I mean? And then go out there and do the good shit. Do the good shit. All right. At least that's my feelings on it.
Well, no, and the thing is, one thing you didn't touch on, but you did, is life experience, because the thing about it is universe tends to put people in front of you that have had similar experiences as yourself. Not always, but you can, I mean, I've had somebody sit with childhood trauma across from me and feel their pain physically in my body. And that's one of the reasons why, yes, you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. My personal therapist years ago told me she wanted me to go back to school so I could get a certification, so I could be a licensed therapist with my cards. And I'm like, nope, sorry, I do counseling this way. I will not do it the other way. And that's the truth, because at a certain point, I'm not so much a future caster as I am somebody who's going to sit down with you and we're going to try to get to the root of something. And I think
Yeah.
that's also the difference in readings, is sometimes people just assume that because you're a reader, you're going to tell me the future. No, that's not always the way it works. What's coming from whatever I'm getting is coming from spirit. It's coming from your guides, your ancestors, the people that have crossed over. That information is coming to me, and it's usually to help you deal with whatever issue you're really dealing with at your heart.
I mean, fair, girl. That was something I consider too. I've got 1,000 things that I want to be and do. And so I got a whole bucket list here, but I want to be a parapsychologist. That's a very, very important goal for me in my life. And so hopefully I'll be able to. But I've noticed a trend with myself over and over and over again. I even worked for a therapy place. So it's like all the work that we've done in our lives is adding to the work that we're going to be doing here. But also, like, you can't be discounted. Like, if you're not doing the work with yourself, how are you really present with your people? How are you really available and hold space? Because honestly, I think maybe the greatest gift that we can give to another person, especially when we're doing the grief work, helping people process and helping them connect with their loved ones, we're holding space. How can you do that if you're already filled to the brim with your own bullshit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't. I mean, you can to a certain extent, but it's like, are you really being there for the person and supporting them in their time of need? Understand, if you go into this work, I hope that there is a heart and mind of service, because that's the point. And so this is a vocation, this is a calling. And so sit down and do the work. Choose yourself so that you can open up as the vessel that you are for spirits. Make room. Make room. And so that was, I mean, it's a lifelong thing. It's actually beautiful if you think about it. So I think also too, knowing what your gifts and abilities are, knowing what you specialize in, knowing, like you said, your background and the things that you grew up with and your life experiences. Like, you probably get a lot of women that have lost their significant others. I get a lot of people with deep-seated, rooted childhood trauma. And so that's where, and I've made sure throughout the years that, like, I pay attention to what I'm doing in therapy, especially around my trauma work, so that I can give good advice, so that I can remind people, so that I can say, hey, here's a therapy that might actually help you get to that specialized person. So
Right.
I think information is power. Okay. Do you necessarily have to become a therapist to do this work? No. But make sure that you are informed. Make sure that you are doing the work on yourself. And remember, information is power. The more you gather about yourself and the subjects, the more you can help other people. That's the good shit, if you ask me again.
And make sure you're honoring it. Don't, I mean, I remember being at Barnes once and this lady was looking at tarot decks, and I said to her, I said, do you know what kind of deck you're looking for? Oh, I had a reading and she told me I was going to be able to do this for a living. So I'm just getting my deck and I'm going to go start doing readings.
I
And I
mean, girl,
was,
you can.
yeah,
You can. Nobody's going
but
to stop you.
no, but what kind of reader are you?
Well, I think some people get excited and they think they're just going to make crazy money doing this. And I'm like, oh, sweet summer child. That is not how any of this works. Be ready in the beginning to get maybe a reading once every 3, 4, 5 months. And then as you start to build not only your library and your understanding of how your stuff is showing up, you're also bringing, hopefully by word of mouth, bringing in more people and it's starting to spread around. This takes a while. If you don't have the patience to do the work on yourself, show up in the way that you need to, and to get the education, the lessons, the learning, the backup and support, like, well, then you're just going out there with fucking fire swords cutting shit up. Like, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I know that sounds pretty awesome, but I'm saying that more in a negative aspect, okay? Like, go out there. Understand that your words might make or break someone. Understand that when you are in this position, integrity and truthfulness and showing up are fucking important. And if you fuck with people and their souls and their loved ones in spirit, I promise you one day you're going to meet the wrong one and you're going to wish you never fucking did this shit. So I would say to those that want to get into this work, I'm not trying to scare you, but, like, sit down, choose yourself so that you can become the vessel that spirit is asking you to become, of service. Are you ready for that? If you're not, then baby, move on to something. There's a million things in this fucking world you can fucking do. Do you know
Hmm.
how long it took? And listen, if you go by the rules and everything, especially by like the spiritualist church, they want you to do like multiple years of sitting in group, multiple years of reading for yourself. And like, not everybody's got the time for that. Or some people, it doesn't really resonate with them. But there needs to be something to be said for doing the work, taking the classes, taking your time with this, and going out there so that you're doing the least harm possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
So this we'll try to move a little bit away from that. So because it's supposed to be the Halloween episode, so I'll talk about something spooky that's not really spooky.
Yeah.
So the last class I taught, I've been teaching intuition class. We did a psychometry class. And I had my students bring in something, and I knew one was going to forget. So I grabbed my mother's wedding ring. My mother has been dead since 1991.
Mm-hmm.
So one of my students picked it up, did not know whose it was because I covered everything. They had to stick it on a plate. They didn't know whose was what. She picked it up, and within a moment, she was bawling her eyes out.
Interesting.
She was bawling her eyes out, and she said her heart felt heavy, and it was just so much heartache, so much love. And then I had to tell her. I mean, I took it from her almost immediately because she's new to this. This was up in, it was hard on her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was wrong of me to bring that, but I did not think that ring would be so heavily imprinted still, but it is. So that shows you that no matter how far spirit's been gone, it doesn't matter. Oh, and then another fun story. So I don't know if anybody remembers the Singamajig. I could get it, but I'm not going to. It's this toy that you used to squeeze. It had like a little hair tie for a mouth. And this Singamajig, I think John bought it for me in 2011. And it would sing, "Let Me Call You Sweetheart." All right. Yes. So the battery should be dead, right? Battery should be dead. 2 weeks before my wedding anniversary, this thing just starts going, bah, bah, bah. Clear out of the blue. I'm like,
and you're just like, listen,
wait.
And
the normal cycle of this thing would say hello or goodbye. And then would do this, and then occasionally go, bye-bye. Like, what the fuck?
It freaks me out. I'm not going to lie to you. Wow.
I've had some friends who are like, you need to get rid of that. I'm like, I know it's him. Because here's the thing. The interesting thing is I have all my cards laid out on my table, and I used to have my glasses of water on my altar. And Chloe, for some reason, right before all this, started knocking water over. So she knocked over the goddess chalice and spilt water on the deck that was John's. And so I pulled it off, and I wasn't using it on my daily rituals. And then that started. I'm like, okay. And
it's almost like he got you to get your attention on the deck that he used to get you to pick it back up so you feel connected with him again.
But the thing hasn't stopped. It stopped, and it came back, and now it's just it.
Okay, so that battery is dying. There's that.
However, I would say this, that the interesting thing is right before the anniversary, it was singing, and it almost sounded like the 2001 Space Odyssey theme. And so I sang it back to him, and then I was like, bye-bye. And it stopped. And then I went in my bedroom, and I could hear it go, bye-bye. I'm like, okay. And so it didn't play for like a couple of days, and then it started up again. And so the haunted toy is slowly dying. The battery should have been dead. There's no way that battery should still be active, period.
You know what I mean?
But
girl, that's wild. And why would it be going off right now? I have that same cup. I love that cup. Today, I shall just be magic.
Well, and that's why I was like, I was going to grab something else. I'm like, well, this is the perfect cup for this episode.
I was like, I love that cup. I got it too.
The only other cup I would have had was my little witch cup that says witch and famous. But, hey.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That's so cute. So, no, girl, I haunted stuff. Listen, I'm very clear with the spirit that surrounds me. If you all pull that shit, I'm kicking you all out. I don't want to be freaked out. Don't freak me out.
My
Find
friends,
another way to tell me.
my
Find
friends
another
came
way.
over. I mean, you could hear it downstairs. That's how loud this thing was. And my
Oh,
friends were over and they're
John.
like, what is going on? I'm like, it's just that. My
It's just
ring
John.
my ring light will turn itself on in the middle of the night or for whenever. It'll just turn itself on. And it's like, okay.
So yeah, just be like, hey John, can you chill out? I know it's you, man. Come on. Come on. Unless you like that shit, then
I,
hell yeah. Tell them that you recognize it and tell them to keep going because you know it's them every time. But yeah, if you're freaked out like me, be like, hey y'all, shut it the fuck down. I'm just trying to live.
I guess
Okay.
my biggest thing is because he kept saying bye bye. Is like I know my time in this house is coming to an end. So is this? He's just kind of showing me that he's going to be going too. I don't freaking know, and I guess I'll figure it out. But yeah, I pulled the cards back out. I'm using his cards again. But what?
I think that you made an important note because I think a lot of people worry that like their loved ones are connected to the thing that they left behind. And listen to me, they are in a sense, right? But it's
Mm-hmm,
because of the connection you have to it.
mm-hmm,
For the most part, 9 times out of 10, okay? I'm excluding haunted objects, all right? For 9 times out of 10, I know, besides you, 9 times out of 10, this is your person's connected to you. So
mm-hmm,
if you need to sell the house or you need to let go of that car or you're ready to sell that jewelry or whatever, your person lives in
mm-hmm.
here with
Right.
you. They were with you every day in every way. And these little objects, we are the ones that feel the connection to it. Okay. So
Mm-hmm,
just remember when you wear those earrings of your grandma's that give you the strength and courage, she's already with you. It's your physical reminder that she's here. Right.
right.
So just know, y'all, if you got to sell that house, you got to do that thing. Your person's going to be with you. Good luck keeping them away. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Well, I
For the
mean,
most part.
every reading I've gotten since my mother's died, which like says
Mhm.
1991, every reader. Your mother's around you. Your mother's all around you. Your mother's here. Yeah, I know my mom's here. I get it. I'm not, but I
Okay.
mean, it's like she's always stepped forward. It's like, I
I think I
understand.
told you the same fucking
Yeah,
thing.
yes, yes, yes. So, I mean, but as far as the toys, like my friends are like, I get rid of it. I'm like, it's not haunted. It's John. And to be honest, to be fair, in this realm, John's big thing he would always joke about. He's like, if I'm magic, I want to be able to get lightning to come through my fingers. And he'd go, so he must be just tickled pink now that he can get that toy to.
He's doing the very thing he said if I ever got the chance, I would do the fucking thing. And here he is going, woo, let me manipulate this thing through
Yep,
electricity.
yep,
Holy fuck. Thanks,
yep.
John. Right? Also, too, if your person worked in computer tech, was an electrician, of course you're probably going to be having some lighting and some technical stuff going on. It's your person coming through. Remember, we're still people, even when we die. Okay, there's still a humanness to it. For the most part, again, depending on what the fuck we're dealing with. But we're talking about your loved one, still your person. And they're
Mm-hmm.
going to let you know in certain ways it's them. Wouldn't you recognize it? You know what I'm saying? Like you knew immediately. Not only did John give you that thing, but he also talked about if only I had one ability. And here
Mm-hmm.
he is
Mm-hmm.
living his best
Right.
afterlife. You know what I mean? I also I think something needs to be said too that not everything is a fucking demon. Not everything is fucking evil. I think it's the trend feels like it's moving towards people recognizing that and knowing that. But like we still have a lot of fear mongering around this. And listen, guys, a lot of times when fear comes up, whether that's from a community or your family or your loved ones, even maybe something you got inside, it's there to try to keep you safe. Okay. Not everybody's trying to hurt and harm you. But a lot of times they tell us these things with this much information and this much of a fucking opinion about what we should be doing with our lives. So just be careful, double check, and remember, not everything is bad. This might just be your loved one coming through to say hi. And remember, you get to tell them to fuck off if you don't want somebody up in your house or that activity is too fucking much for you. So set the boundaries. Not everything is evil. It might just be your loved one coming around to say hello.
Well, and
So
then,
I think there's a fear element, you know what I
oh,
mean?
yeah.
That we all need to maybe recognize and face. I had to do the same. I grew up Catholic. Are you fucking shitting me? You know?
Catholic guilt and fear is strong. And I want to say, speaking of fear mongering, there was that whole movie Tarot. And I
Oh,
was
I didn't
putting
see
the
that.
I didn't see it either. I saw the preview. That was all I needed to see. And it was
Right?
basically a horror flick where they show a tarot card and they draw this tarot card and that's how they're going to die. And it was just like, really? Really?
Can I say that I have had the difficulty of doing a reading where I pulled the death card for somebody and was telling her, "Hey, girl, just wait a second," because it doesn't always mean that. And but she was actually dying. Um, when you pull these cards, when that stuff comes up, like again, we need to be careful of the things that we're speaking and talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an integrity aspect of this. Like, is everybody going to die that you pull the death card for? 9 times out of 10, again, no. This talks about transitions. And so, listen, again, the cultural, religious, family, just personal fear gets in the way. And so these people are banking off this in Hollywood. Okay. Like the sixth sense, which most people reference in terms of like ghosts and activity and stuff like that. I did not, I had some traumatic things happen, but for the most part, it doesn't look and feel like that for me personally. So that movie like scared the fucking shit out of me. And I'm like, well, why am I not experiencing it like that? If I open up more, is it going to be like that for me? Do you know what I'm saying? So just remember, guys, especially with these movies, they're trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you fear. Don't lean into that. These are Hollywood people trying to make money. A lot of times, too, these religious figures are trying to keep you in the church. If you were able to find advice for yourself and you didn't need to turn to them, their pews would be empty, and so would their pockets. Okay, hot take, hot fucking take. So before I start fist fighting churches out here, just remember a lot of these people are trying to sell something. Um, Fucking trust yourself, especially if you've ever worked with cards. The cards don't have any, it is just an extension of you. The tarot cards, working with the pendulum, like all of the, it is just an extension of you.
Well,
That's it.
As John would say, because he worked at a printing company, he's
Yeah.
like, it is just printed paper. You are the one that is making things happen. And to go back to your statement about the death card, when I think I'd been reading for maybe 3 years, and it was a friend of a friend. And this is the only reason I would go there in this reading. So I read with the Cosmic, and the card that showed up was, I believe, the Seven of Swords, the three of cups in that deck looks like three people in mourning, and then the death card. These cards showed up very close together, and I think the sun was in the middle of this too somewhere. And I said, this is exactly what I said. And the only reason I would never say this to anybody except a friend. I would not say this publicly because I know that when you're telling somebody somebody's going to die, all that does is play mental games, because I've had it happen to me. So I told a friend, I said, it looks like this person's going to, it's not really good. They looks like they're going to get better, but ultimately it looks like they're going to pass, because they had been in a horrific car accident. So I get, about 3 weeks later, I get a phone call from the person saying they're getting out of the hospital. I'm like, yay, I am so glad I was wrong. I am so glad.
Yes.
And then the
Right.
next day I got a call saying that they had a blood clot and died.
Yep.
So I mean, I do wholeheartedly think that if those cards were to come up and I'm in a public place doing a reading, I'm going to tell them to go to a damn doctor and get checked out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to
yeah.
sit there and say that you're going to die. I'm not going to go there, because I have a legal responsibility not to play mind games with you. And that's what that shit does. When you tell somebody that, oh, you have somebody in your life that's going to die. I had this happen by a reader, and I was just like, it played in my head for years.
Oh, you would be shocked how many people come to me saying, please just don't tell me anything bad. I can't take anymore. I was just at this reader and they told me all these horrific things. And I'm sitting here pulling beautiful cards. I'm like, again, remember, if somebody's giving you nothing but bullshit, 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 and also too, it's not actually happening in your life, but they're just fear mongering, getting you to come back and get readings. Stop for a second, reassess the situation. Like all this is, they're keeping you in a cycle of fear so that you give them money and keep coming back. So I just go with people that you trust, that actually resonate with you, that don't speak to your fear. And again, guys, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, do not let that fear guide you, because again, it's going to get you bamboozled. It's going to get you down avenues and places and spaces you don't want to fucking be, be cognizant enough to realize, am I being led by my fear or am I being reminded of who the fuck I am?
I
Where's
mean,
my empowerment here? Yeah.
I've had readers say, "Oh, well, you need to go see these other people. They'll help clear this up, or do this, or you need to get other readings. You need to get a bunch of other readings." Why is your reading not good enough?
Well, maybe sometimes there might be a specialty, but if, yeah, somebody's just trying to hawk you off on their friends to make more money, like we need to ask why. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why would I need to go? I'm just always scared of people that say you've got a curse on you and you can only break it for 3 grand and a fart in the wind. Like, get the fuck out of here. First of all, my farts belong to me. Fuck you. All right. Number two, 3 grand?
Well,
Get the,
wait, you've heard
I can't. Who's
you've
got
heard
that money?
You've heard about the people that are like, "Oh, well, I can help you manifest a guy if you bring me a suit that you want him to wear." And I mean, there was a case in Oklahoma. You cannot do certain restrictions apply in Oklahoma now because somebody I think lost $250,000 trying to manifest a fucking man.
When all this beautiful soul probably needed was a little therapy to deal with her mother and father trauma, with
Mm-hmm,
her obsession with love relationships, to
mm-hmm,
work on herself so
mm-hmm,
that she could heal and be available and signal to the universe, I am actually ready.
mm-hmm.
You sh- This is
Yeah.
why I don't do love spells. This is why I don't do love spell, love work, unless it's a love spell for you to love your fucking self. This is where people take advantage because they're seeing somebody that shit makes my fucking blood boil. How dare you? Because then, yes, then laws start being put into place to protect people
Do you know why I
from
became
wild shit like that.
you know why I'm a licensed minister?
Mm.
Because at a township, when I first started practicing in a township, you had to be a licensed minister in order to do tarot readings because it had to be considered a religious consultation. Otherwise, your ass could go to jail for doing a tarot reading.
That tells me that a lot of people got taken advantage of, and there was probably also a religious organization
Mm-hmm.
involved that were scared they were taking people out of their pews. So it's probably a complicated situation, honestly. But also they're probably trying to protect people, and
Mm-hmm.
rightfully fucking so.
I,
Like,
I,
it disheartens me when people act like that. Like, get into this shit for the right reasons because you want to do it, because you're being called to service, not because you're gonna fucking scam people from their fucking money. Like, it just makes me want to fist fight people in the streets. You know what I'm saying?
well,
I want to call on Sasquatch and sack them on people. Do you know what I mean? Like, sick
yeah.
them on these assholes. Like, go get them.
But see, in a roundabout way, it worked out beautifully because I've ended up marrying 3 different people, and so it ended up
Gorgeous.
working great.
Yes.
But at the time when I got, it, I was like, okay, I'll cover my ass.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how is the Sasquatch hunting going?
He's going. He's elusive as ever, and that's kind of why I love him. I gotta say, anybody who's listening to this, especially if you've been following me for a while, especially if you found me through TikTok and stuff, I fucking love you guys. I get tagged in so many Sasquatch videos. I love you guys. There was one lately, it's really funny. I got tagged in, it was Mohican or something. I'm probably mispronouncing it. I think it's somewhere in Ohio or somewhere else. It's on a little river, and it's this Sasquatch, and he's singing that song, I'm thinking with my D. And he's just spraying water and dancing, and people like, hell yeah, partying. And I'm like, I want to be there. I don't know. I love Sasquatch. I love the idea of Sasquatch. And like, maybe people laugh at me, but like, listen, I come from the space that I don't know if he's real. Listen, we could be dealing with anything here. We could be dealing with like a multi-dimensional being that's coming through. We could be dealing with maybe almost like who's haunting who. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's the missing link that we never fucking knew about. We don't know. And I think a huge part of that too is like all the energy that people, what is that called? Tulpa or something, where people put a lot of energy into something and
Mm-hmm.
something actually like forms and
Manifest,
is
yeah.
real, manifests. So I just think, what are we actually dealing with? And I love the research. I like the question marks. I don't know. It just excites me. And I just think, Bigfoot.
Well,
He's
I mean,
everything I want to be. Free in the woods. Everybody leave me the fuck alone. I'm kidding. I actually love people.
no, but I mean that's the thing. It's like I interviewed a guy recently that he's a director writer for a movie called The Legend of Chupacabra, and I'm like,
Cool.
so why did you do this? He's like, well, because it's a Texas thing. He's like, I'm from
Uh-huh.
Texas. It's a Texas thing. So, it's like there was the legend. And so he played, it's on DVD right now. He's trying to get it on streaming, but it's an amusing movie. There's comedy in it. And but once again, it's a legend. And so people love legends. They love myths, and it's how they grow. And the one thing, going back to the church for a second, when I wrote Fairy Tales and I Love You, I had written a scene about Isis and Osiris, because there's a whole bunch of Egyptian culture at the Met. And my friend is like, well, I want to know more about this creation story. And she is a hardcore Christian. And I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, I want to know more about it. And so I wrote it all out. And she's like, that's really interesting.
Hold on to your booty flaps. It may sound familiar.
Exactly. But the thing is, I don't think she fully saw the connection. And I'm like, yeah, it's the same damn story, but here you go. Mm-hmm.
And that predates the Christianity. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that hopefully I think in a strong way, there's been a mass awakening is what it feels like, at running the risk of sounding like one of those people that are like, ooh, the crystals and zoomies in my brain. Like, calm down. I'm not doing that. You guys know. I do think that there's been kind of a mass awakening to like, we're not getting the full information, and these institutions that claim to support us and love us and help us and guide us are not doing those things. And so I feel like the mass exodus from religion has been a re-emphasis back on self, which I think is beautiful. It's important because that's where the call is coming from, inside the house. I don't need to go into a building to commune with God. All I got to do is get a donut and I'm already there. Do you know what I mean? Like, there needs to be a gentle, or I think, again, I feel like there has been a mass exodus towards leaning back into self. But again, a part of that is healing from that trauma, healing from being held down, healing from being held back, from tuning back in and trusting innately what comes through us as humans. We all crave connection. I don't care who the fuck you are, unless you're some, fucking Hannibal Lecter. Okay, even him. Okay.
He wants some fodder beans.
Would you want to be? Probably not. But just saying, everybody needs connection. Everybody does. And so if the call is coming from inside the house and we feel like we're missing out on God and we're not finding in these other institutions outside of ourselves, baby doll, turn the fuck around. Look at yourself. This is where it starts. Come back home. And watch as you start to understand God. When you understand yourself, you understand the Creator. Because we were all made in the image and likeness, right? He didn't stutter. Nobody stuttered there. So
I want to say, to your point, to be fair here,
yeah.
I almost feel like, because, Pluto has a lot to do with blowing up everything, that the church and everything. So I almost feel like Pluto's sitting there going, okay, bitches, you said I wasn't a planet. I'm back to show you who the fuck I am. And I'm ready to rumble. And I'm ready to take all your little organizations and everything down.
Well, also Pluto and Aquarius, like, information is power. And I keep saying, I think the theme for Pluto and Aquarius is going to be, it's not just about you, but in the best way possible. So it's not only a come home to yourself, but when Susan Grace, one of my favorite astrologers, is like, when you tune in and like you find yourself, then you find the other. So I think that there's, again, when you find yourself, you find God is already there. We're each a spoke in the wheel, and we all need to bring our gifts and abilities. And like, don't be afraid of this. Say yes to the spiritual turn that I think is coming up with Pluto and Aquarius. But yeah, information is power. We're not just going to be listening to what other people are telling us. What the fuck feels right? And is this information actually aligning with our personal fucking experiences? Well, so yeah, good. Let Pluto fuck it up.
I think that's where you're getting a certain percentage of people that are becoming super Christian and super political and super conservative. And if you disagree with me, then please turn the podcast off right now, because I really don't give a shit. Because I am a liberal. I admit that I'm a liberal. And you know what?
There it is.
Yeah, you know what? If that bothers you, I'm sorry. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at what is being presented from the other side, all they're looking at is controlling you, especially women. And if you think, and this is what I used to say about when certain people got elected, if you think a man in a penthouse with a golden toilet understands your plight, you're fucking nuts. And I will say that even more now. If you think that this man understands you because he held up a fucking Bible, he doesn't even know what fucking verse is his favorite.
He don't think he's ever read it, girl.
I don't either, but you know,
he held it upside down. Okay. I think that was the first red flag. And I think that's so sweet. You're like, I'm liberal. Y'all can fuck off, baby. I am progressive. I don't know if anybody wants this conversation with me because I think the whole lot of it's fucked. I don't trust anybody. Democrats. No, Republicans, I don't trust anybody.
I agree. I think the Democrats have sold out to the corporations. And yes, it's supposed to be a fun Halloween podcast, and here we are going down the rabbit hole.
Motherfuckers.
But that's the thing. It's become, the problem is we have these corporate overlords, and I go back to the movie Wall Street quite often because I think when I watched Wall Street the first time, and if you haven't seen Wall Street, the biggest thing about it is Charlie Sheen's dad has this airline, and Charlie Sheen's going to work with this guy on Wall Street, Michael Douglas. And he knows that the airline's struggling. So Michael Douglas is like, oh, I can help you. And so they work a deal to sell that airline to them. And just like with Red Lobster, the venture capitalists invest in it, and then they break it all apart. And Oliver Stone said, I didn't do that movie as a fucking playbook. But that's exactly what it's turned out into.
So, yeah. Do you know what I mean? But also, too, I think that kind of feeds itself because we're sold this whole story around capitalism and consume and consume, consume. Maybe there has to be reciprocity. We can't just keep taking from our literal home and expect it to keep showing up. There's non-renewable resources here that we keep tapping out. And so I think that maybe also too, like you have to pay attention to that mindset. How are you actually paying attention to the world? And again, are you doing the work to be aware, to be awake, to heal yourself so that you can show up for the people coming to you? I don't care about your political stance when you come to a reading for me. I don't give a fuck. I know you don't either. But like, I think that something needs to be said for like being aware of all sides. Like, what side do you stand on? How do you feel about things? Again, are you awake and aware in the world? And this also to this constant message that you need to consume, 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 power, consume. And so if people are hopping into this thing and they're going to make money and they're going to make it big and be on TV and blah, yada, yada, like, baby, that's not the normal pipeline. Okay. That's not the normal pipeline. So it's just like, you've got to check yourself before you wreck yourself, or you're going to run the risk of hurting and harming others.
Did you see the movie Zoolander?
Oh, girl, did I see it? Yeah. It was my personality for like 5 years of my life.
So you remember the fashion line Derelict in it, where that was But if you look at like Balenciaga and these other people, they're creating this fashion that looks straight out of that movie. And it's like, I think you can get a chip bag purse for $2,500. And it's like, who the fuck wants this and why? Why?
You know what's always and again, I know we're getting to the political stuff, but it always makes me laugh how these people that have so much money and have lost touch with reality want to play poor so fucking bad that they're willing to pay millions to look like it. Get the fuck out. I can't take the disconnect, girl. I can't. So I just, it's wild to me. I don't ever, and listen, guys, I know that I'm sitting here telling you guys, like, yeah, I got the possibility of TV shows coming up and all that stuff. Yeah, listen, if it does go through, God help the people that are directing me and that I'm working. But I am ungovernable, number one.
But the thing is, TV shows now, compared to TV shows 30 years ago, and even talking to the director about being an indie producer, you're not going to make you'll get paid. I'm not going to say you're not, but the thing is, it's not something that you have a hit show, you're going to be set for fucking life. It doesn't work that way anymore.
It doesn't.
And that's why I said that I'm not dashing your cloud, dear. You know that because I know you're going to rock. But I want the audience. I want the audience to know that just because you get this deal doesn't mean you're going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, Martucci, I can't talk to you anymore.
Could you imagine? I might be like that with the higher ups because I don't trust any of those motherfuckers. Pay me my paycheck. Okay. I'll
Mhm.
do the work and you better be ready for me to tell the truth. I'm not going to fudge anything. I'm not going to make shit up. This is going to be enough. And I don't know, to be honest with you, if they're ready for me. So we'll see. We'll see if it works the fuck out. But I mean, the opportunities keep showing up for me. And I feel like that's maybe where spirit wants me to go. Maybe the audience is ready to hear me. I don't give a fuck about the producers and everybody else. Just pay me let me do my fucking work, pay me the money, shut the fuck up. Like I'm here for, again, my heart is of fucking service. So if I can show up here and show people how to communicate with spirit, take the fear out of this fucking situation, re-empower yourself, and maybe, just maybe, work cooperatively with spirit, I say watch miracles occur because I've noticed that within my own fucking life. So if I can bring that experience to the screen, remind us there's a different perspective here. It doesn't have to be all demons and fight me in the streets with spirits. You guys know what I'm talking about. I promise I won't wear a t-shirt 3 times too small for me. I promise I won't go out there and start trying to fight spirits. Like, this is not only am I in service to the people's, the person sitting across from me, I'm also in service to spirit. So I'm hoping, and also my background, when I went to college, my bachelor's is in conflict analysis, dispute resolution, and I focus on negotiation and mediation. So what do you think I'm good at, y'all?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to show everybody how to mediate between us and spirit, how to see it from a different perspective. So I want to bring hope. I want to bring reminders. I want to bring gentle nudgings that not everything is evil. Sometimes spirit's actually out to help us and protect us. And if we just listen for a second, we might be able to learn something so that we can live our best lives.
Mhm.
Learn from spirit so that we can do better. That's so let's see. We'll see. If anybody wants to put me on screen and deal with that shit. But I'm hoping, I got a feeling that that's going to be resonating with the next generation here that wants to see these things. Maybe finally my time is fucking coming because, for a long time, people didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to listen to me. They wanted or they needed it to be some kind of terrifying thing going on or whatever. So I think there's something to be said for that too. But listen, my Mars, Mercury, and Taurus, it needs to be grounded, realistic, and practical. If this doesn't help me in my everyday life, get the fuck out of my face. You know what I mean? Or at least hand me a donut. Again, like there
Or
needs to
some
be an
cheese.
exchange.
Or some
Yeah, there's
cheese.
some cheese.
I mean,
Okay.
I've been fortunate because the medium stuff finally, they don't show me how they don't make me feel how they died anymore, which I'm so grateful for. I finally just told them, look, dudes, I cannot keep doing this. Stop with this. I don't need to know. I mean, you
Well
can tell
done.
me, but I don't want to feel it.
Well done. That's setting boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. And then I'm sure spirit listened and they corresponded with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's, again, something to maybe fostering better relationships, fostering better communication with spirit and with ourselves. Again, y'all, if you heal it here, if you bring it home and take care of this, then you're actually available emotionally, mentally, spiritually for the very things that you've been asking for. So do the work here. Love on yourself. Trust yourself. Tune the fuck in. And then don't be surprised when spirit shows the fuck up and they're like, tally ho, bitch, let's go. Right?
And
Yeah.
and that's the one thing when you're whether it be teaching, doing readings, helping people that have lost a loved one, there's a reward to it besides monetary. There's a reward to it of
Oh, yes.
being
Oh,
connected
oh,
and
yes.
watching these people grow and watching these
Yeah.
people experience things.
That's the shit I fucking live for. When somebody comes back around and said, just Sarah, thank you for that reading. That just reminded me of where my power was, what I'm ready to do next. Like, thank you, because that gave me the clarity or the validation that I needed in order to follow this purpose, this calling, whatever the fuck is going on. Like, there is no drug. And listen, y'all, I went to college, okay? There is no drug that comes anywhere close to that feeling, that high of being like, oh my God, this actually helped and I supported you and
Mm-hmm.
you're doing big things to change your fucking life. Like, oh my God. Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Who's next? I
Yeah.
love that shit so much. I don't know. it reminds me that, okay, girl, you are being of service. You are showing up. Well done. Keep going. I really try to celebrate that because, yeah, no amount of money, no drug, no nothing can touch that. Like, God, the feeling. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up because that's so true.
No, it's okay. I mean, I realize that as a teacher that when I help somebody and I see them learning something and they realize, wow, I can do this, or helping somebody in a reading, that it's just as much as it helps me, it helps them, and that's a gift. That is a gift. Now there are times, of course, when you get the client that you can't help, and that hurts, but that is with anything. If you're helping people, therapist, doctor, nurse, whatever, you're going to feel those same feelings. It's normal.
Yep.
It's being a human. It's having
Yep.
compassion.
Yep.
So I know we got to wrap this up because you got another phone call, but I'm going to say real quick, any alien sightings?
I hope the fuck not, Donna. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. I'll fist fight an alien. If you guys don't think I will fucking fist fight an alien. And that is not, I'm not Jake Paul here. I'm not trying to fight a Mike Tyson alien. Okay, get the fuck out. I know I will die. I don't want it. But if you come around here, you're asking for that smoke. No, thank you. I don't want it. I don't know. I just had nightmares when I was a kid around like aliens and alien abductions, and it just freaked me the fuck out. I just never had good feelings about it. And sometimes when I go into certain parts of like Pennsylvania, I don't know. I've driven around a lot of the US, and sometimes I'll pick up in an area that like there's been alien activity, and it always freaks me out. And it's a very different feeling from haunting. It is a very, because haunting is like I might have some control, some power, some boundaries here. The alien stuff, we're dealing with, what did our government say? We're probably looking more at frequency, dimensions. Like, I,
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
it gives me the bubble guts. It gives me the bubble guts.
but that's the thing. We don't talk about the energy that we all are, that everything in this room is. As much as, go back to the Matrix for a second. I watched the Matrix the first time and I sat there going, how do I know any of this is real?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's the truth though, because if you take it out of the computer system, we are all energy. Everything has a vibration. Everything has a signature. So in a roundabout way, the Matrix is true, even if it's not true, because we are all energy and we're all
I think it could
connected
even
because of
just
that.
be like a parable, like a reminder. Wake the fuck up. What was the message? Wake the fuck up.
Well, I
Wake
mean,
the fuck up.
why does some people why does cilantro for some people taste like soap and cilantro for other people taste fine? I mean,
$1 million question. Yes, ma'am.
but
Yeah.
you understand what I'm getting at. It's one of those things that's like, we are all built differently. We are all connected. Neuroscience proves this. So why do we have to claim that we're not, that we're different? Why do we have to put us in those categories when we're all connected?
Yep. I hear that, girl. Well, I'm gonna let spirit keep guiding me. I know spirit's gonna keep guiding you. And like sometimes that's all that we can do. So guys, when in doubt, if we got a question, tune the fuck back into your damn self. What are
Mhm.
you feeling? And a lot of times too, our loved ones in spirit work through us and with us. So even if you're having a hard time trusting yourself, call on somebody in spirit that you love and that you trust and ask them to help you differentiate what a yes feels like, what a no feels like. If you don't have this compass to work with, how the fuck are you supposed to guide yourself anywhere? So when in doubt, tune back into home. Celebrate your loved ones in spirit and remember, not everything's bad.
And I want to say real quick on that note,
Mhm.
you have to understand that as kids, we are taught by school, by parents, by the church, that we are not supposed to do those
I know.
things. And
Oh, I know.
and in my research for intuition class, I dug into about trauma and how we learn to disassociate with our body, and the people that have gone through trauma tend to be more intuitive because they had to do this to survive.
Literally.
Yeah. So don't fault yourself if you're like, I'm not intuitive. You are. It's just been
Oh,
pushed out of you.
everyone on Mama Earth has the ability to do what the fuck I do. And to be honest with you, Donna, and yeah, we can end on this. Like, to be honest with you, y'all don't need me. You don't. You have the strongest connection to your loved one. And guess what that connection is? You're right. It's love. or even hate for some people. Okay, it's a strong connector, but you have the strongest connection. I'm just the glorified, very cute middleman. I'm just being real, y'all. Okay, like I know that might put me out of business, but then I know I did my fucking job, reminding you guys that you are the ones at the core. You can connect with your loved ones. If you pay attention to the readings, you might be able to tune in and tap into that, or I will give you things to connect with your loved ones. So just remember, I think the mediums are here to maybe show us, remind us, give a gentle nudge towards, but the work and all that good stuff, it's coming from you. Don't be afraid of it. And remember, all of us on Mama Earth, to some varying level and degree, has gifts and abilities. It's just a muscle. You just got to strengthen it. So if you're into it, go out there and start taking classes. See if it's for you. At the very least, at least you'll strengthen your own intuition so that you can trust yourself more. And that's the fucking point.
And to support your message, my therapist said that the other day, that her job is to put herself out of business because she's helped the people that don't need her anymore. So to put that out there, that backs up your message completely. So I assume there's nothing else that we need to discuss because you got another call. I'd like to thank you for coming. Happy Halloween. Happy Samhain, guys, even though this is June. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, this is my Christmas time. So, like, yeah, you guys celebrate. And especially during Halloween, call on your loved ones in spirit. I think that the connective tissue is the thinnest at that point. So call on your loved ones, venerate them, tell them how much you love them and you miss them, and watch as the signs and signals show up, reminding you that you are loved, you are guided, and that you motherfucking got this. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome. Bye. Sarah is always a fun guest, and we have a lot of fun as always. I did show this to Sarah off camera after our interview. This is the toy that I was speaking of. So if you're watching on video, you can see this little thing. The only sound it makes now is that. And it really hasn't made anything. And it's like it was doing this all by itself. I have videoed it and audioed it before it kind of died. But the battery should be long dead because this was bought in 2011. And there's no way it should still be working. But that aside, I don't think it's haunted per se. I think, like we talked about, it was the hubby coming through, which is kind of cool. And yes, it did make me go back to playing with his cards again on my daily ritual, my daily tarot pull for myself. So speaking of that, it's like when Sarah was talking about you working through your own stuff, working through healing your own stuff and doing the practice, doing the work. That's what I do every morning. Most mornings. There are mornings when I don't have time or I don't have a chance that I don't pull those cards, but I try to make it a daily practice as part of what do I need to know? What do I need to be prepared for during the day? And 9 times out of 10, the cards will prepare me for something that will be in my way or moving forward, or maybe not that day, but maybe a couple of days, or maybe that I need to be reflective and review things. But either way, it's there to show me a way that I need to pay attention to. And I think if you think about being a reader, you have to come at this with empathy because, as we were discussing, sometimes your clients really need you. And I'm not talking about the one that needs to make a decision about a boy or a guy. And we all get into those moods. We all get into those modes where we want outside validation. I'm guilty of it. And I didn't even talk about this. I'm guilty of it because when I was looking to get a PR agent for my books, because I thought I need to invest in myself when my husband passed. So I got a PR agent. And before I signed that contract, I talked to 3 readers because I wanted different perspectives. But if I really listen to myself, everybody's like, oh, it's going to be good. But something deep inside kept saying no. And ultimately, when I look back at that experience, something went wrong with the PR person in her personal life after the initial readings that turned this sour. But had I listened to myself initially and not sought out other people, and I'm not faulting any of the readers, but had I sought out for myself and listened to my gut, I would have known. It's kind of like a few years ago, I kept saying I needed access to the elevator, and nobody understood what the hell I meant. I didn't understand what I meant. But the person I wanted to talk to, when I hit the button for the elevator, came walking out. And so there is why I needed access to the elevator. I had no idea. I said this was August that this happened, August 22nd. And I started saying this in March of that year. I had no idea why, but deep down inside, I did. And so when you get those feelings, you get those inclinations, and something won't leave you when it's in a loop in your head, and you just feel this in your gut, trust that because it's important to. So I hope that if you're thinking about becoming a reader or just embracing your intuition, that you go out, take classes, learn your craft, learn what you need to learn. Because even if you don't want to be a teacher or a reader, still plugging into your intuition and learning how to grow it makes things easier for you. And sure, like I said earlier to her, and she said the same, we sometimes do get validation from another reader because we want to make sure that we are not so much in, Delulu land, and know that we are actually on the right path. Sometimes we get so hyped up about something that we want clarification just to make sure. So, on that note, I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I'd like to thank Sarah Martucci for coming back on the show. It definitely wasn't going where we thought we were going to go because it was supposed to be all about Halloween. And it didn't fully turn into that. But I think dealing with mediumship and readings, I think that's important because I think you guys that may be interested in either pursuing it or having a reader, you need to know what you're looking at. So, once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Rich Zei from 30 Year Audio for doing our audio. And also thanks, Fast Susie, for the intro and outro music. And as I said, thank you guys for tuning in. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Bye.